But obviously, it's very good to have a meeting now and then to ensure that everybody is pulling in the same direction rather than each stakeholder doing things according to what they think is the best for the team and for Indian cricket in general. Along those lines, I think it was something that would have been fruitful for the simple reason all of them got to meet together and discuss things. But at the end of it all, what came out was the fact that they would resume things that were done before. Yo-yo was something that was done before as well. Dexa is also a part of the curriculum even then. So there's absolutely nothing new on that front, and it did not really sort of get me excited because these were things that were done in the past as well. But again, what is also critical here is that when it comes to injury management, it will take a lot of coordination between various parties. Yes, the objective has always been, the intent has always been that the Indian team management keeps in touch with the NCA, and the NCA in turn acts as a bridge between the team management and the IPL franchisees and their support staff as well. So that is something that they've always been vying to somehow crack it. It's very difficult because the people handling the IPL franchisee sides, they got to ensure that they deliver to the best of their ability in a matter of 8 weeks because it's all go for them over a period of 8 to 10 weeks, and a lot of things at stake for them as well. But what happens is also that the players at times tend to have their own preferences when it comes to who they get treated by and who does their rehab program. That is where some of the times you'll get a lot of disconnect, and that is one area that needs to be clearly sorted out because it's all right for everybody to be aware of what is going on. That is the key here. What happens in a situation when a player has his own preferences as to who treats him and who does his rehab program? The awareness of the progress or keeping up abreast of what is going on with relation to the injury management of the rehab program becomes a little bit skewed. So that is something that needs to be sorted out. And once they get that sorted out, I'm sure it'll be a lot more smoother than what it has been and what obviously it has been up to now. From the trainer's point of view, they say that will give us an indication if somebody's been training because they think yo-yo is something which the players should, in fact, do in a canter. They say it's not difficult at all if they've been training reasonably at a moderate level of intensity. But there again, personally, I would feel that one particular number for everybody, I don't think is the right way of doing the yo-yo as well. Because if you're going to say, let's say 16.5 is the threshold and everybody has to cross that in order to be picked, I think that can be a little bit strange because there are some who can comfortably do 18. You're trying to sort of really make it very, very easy for them. Not intentionally, inadvertently it becomes too easy for them. Somebody who can do 18 will do 16.5, casually. And also for those who have not yet done that kind of training is something which is going to pose problems for them because 16.5 to achieve cannot be that easy. But there again, active cricketers and especially in an era when these cricketers boast of being very fit, 16.5, whatever numbers that they set, it should be absolutely no issue at all. But again, what I'm trying to get at is that the idea should be to try and challenge these cricketers to improve upon their fitness by 20% every time they have a test. It could be once in 3 months, it could be once in 4 months, any which frequency that they choose. I think the best option would be for the players to improve upon their fitness parameters. Whatever the parameters are and whatever the tests that are going to be conducted by the trainers, the players should be challenged to do 20% better than the previous occasion. That way, what happens is everybody is challenging himself and then they're going to get better. It's not a question of one number being set for everybody to achieve. There are some who are fitter in certain tests than the rest, and those guys would probably not do as well in few other tests, which means that this thing of challenging the individuals to improve upon their parameters every time they go for a fitness test will bring about all-round fitness, and also ensure that the players are motivated themselves because they are only trying to prove things to themselves. They're not doing it to satisfy somebody or trying to sort of ensure that they get picked because they can do 16.5 in a yo-yo test. At the end of the day, best results come out when you challenge the top athletes and the elite cricketers. I think I had mentioned about this in detail or touched upon it when we were talking about Bumrah's injury in an earlier episode. There are definitely a couple of gaps that existed then. I don't know if they're existing now. If they did not exist, I don't think this particular meeting would have been to discuss about the fitness levels or the injury management of players. I, for one, would presume that those gaps still exist. The problem is not in maintaining the fitness of players. The problem is about getting them back to where they were before they sustained an injury, which means the post-injury diagnosis and the treatment given to the players and the rehab program devised to help them get back to playing cricket once again. These are the stages that are critical, and this is where some gaps can really exist, and those gaps need to be closed. For example, let's say you're talking about a player getting injured. Then he goes to the specialist that is engaged by the BCCI, he gets diagnosed, and then what happens is that the treatment is given, and then if a rehab program is required, the specialist will suggest to the physiotherapist in the NCA as to what rehab program should be followed to get this player back to playing cricket once again. Yes, all that is done diligently, there's no problems about it, but where the confusion creeps in is when the player gets back to cricket. In the case of a fast bowler, if the injury has been a result of his peculiar action or due to one particular set of movements that a fast bowler does in his action, which is obviously resulting in the injury, then when the player gets back to playing cricket, he needs to be monitored by the bowling coach. Now, how much that is possible practically is got to be answered. I personally feel it is a big challenge because when the Indian team is away playing in a series and you have the bowling coach with the team, what happens then? The backup fast bowling coaches in the NCA, are they also kept in the loop to ensure that when the injured player gets back to playing cricket, he needs to do certain things in order to ensure the injury does not relapse? This is the biggest gap that exists there in the injury management of a player. When a player gets fitter, he comes back to playing cricket, and that particular phase during which he needs to be monitored in terms of his technique so that he doesn't go back to rehab again because of the fact that the injury is once again aggravated, and also the fact that he is fit cricket wise. So these two elements need to be assessed very, very minutely, and this is where I think the gaps can creep in, and it also can be easily missed because of lack of coordination. See, it's a very difficult balance to achieve. Yes, you need to have midterm goals, you need to have midterm objectives, you need to have midterm plans as well. When I say midterm, IPL is kind of a midterm thing as far as the World Cup is concerned, because World Cup is obviously for the time being is the, let's say, the main goal here in the next 10 months. So along those lines, the current series is the short-term plan. The IPL will be the midterm plan as to what happens then with regard to a few players. This particular element of ensuring that we will monitor whatever is happening during the IPL, yes, it's the ideal situation. But how much it can be done is again left to the various people that are involved in a player's journey at that point in time. Nobody wants a player to miss out on either a key tournament like a IPL or a fantastic opportunity of doing extraordinarily well for India in a World Cup. So I'm sure the franchisees would not want their own players to miss out on a World Cup, nor the BCCI would want their marquee players to miss out on IPL. So it's all about achieving a balance here, which is quite challenging. And as far as zooming in on the 20 probable players that might go on to have a great chance of playing the World Cup, that stage is not come as yet. And it's very difficult for somebody to say we've already made up the 20 for the World Cup, which is going to be played in October, November. Because there are a lot of things that can happen. A lot of cricket is going to be played between now and then. And also these days, the demands on the players are such that they have to play a lot of cricket, and also, God forbid, there's also a case of some players might get injured by the time you approach the World Cup. So, as far as the 20 players is concerned, yes, unofficially or informally, each one of them might have a squad of 20 in their minds. Yes, that is not a bad thing to do. But as far as going to the extent of naming those 20 players is perhaps not the right time as far as I'm concerned. What about Warner after the couple of failures, and given the situation that is existing between him and Cricket Australia, what a way to answer all his critics. A double hundred, and he had to fight hard, mind you. It was tough batting out there on that surface, and Norte was really bowling quick. You got to see good fast bowling talent, and the quality of fast bowling is very impressive. Obviously, that is stating the obvious in that Australia South Africa series. But Warner, he goes on to get a double hundred in his 100 Test match. Who would have thought? At least as far as the Puritans are concerned, I don't think many would have put any money on Warner going on to play 100 Test matches. But really, hats off to him to have sort of kept going the way he started off. It's so easy for a player to try and change his style of batting because he's got to get runs in international cricket, and that too, especially in Test cricket. But the likes of Sheva, Warners, they never bothered about changing their style of play. They just kept going the way they knew how to play cricket, and that's why they are special, because it's not easy for a player to say to hell with all you Puritans, to hell with what people have done in the past to get runs. We got our methods, we know what to do, that's how we are going to do things, and have that confidence to go on the way they wanted to do and succeed as well as they've succeeded. A double hundred in the 100 Test match. First of all, the landmark of getting to playing 100 Test matches is phenomenal, and on top of that, getting a double hundred in the 100 appearance. What more do you ask for? Is really strange as to how things change, how people's viewpoints change, and how the entire gamut of thought processes change. When I was there with the Indian women's team in Australia for the World Cup, there was a lot of talk about how the administration then had disrupted rather the entire system by following a different method of how cricketers were groomed. For example, there was a lot of criticism about how the club cricket was run as compared to how it was in the earlier decades and stuff like that. But Cricket Australia then, the people who ran Cricket Australia then, were pointing out to David Warner and saying, look at that. That's what has come out of what we've done in changing the way the cricketing system operated. He was their blue-eyed boy. And, you know, suddenly you see now David Warner is at loggerheads with Cricket Australia, even though the personnel have changed. Now that's how things are. It's all a question of what it is that a set of administrators want to do at a given point in time. It's not the individual vis-a-vis the administrator, it's just the situation. Situations keep changing. The decision making is largely dictated by the situation the administrators find themselves in, and at this point it looks like Cricket Australian administrators are happy to try and carry on with whatever is happening and not go back in time, and also encourage things that they might really cop a lot of criticism from the public because of seeing things differently on the decisions made some time ago. But yes, from Warner's viewpoint, it's very simple. He's paid the penance. He's obviously accepted his follies, and he's also said that he would like to contribute as a captain. He feels he's good enough. And yes, somebody who's played 100 test matches for his country would feel that he is capable of contributing as a leader too. And that is what obviously will keep him motivated from now on. He's faced whatever challenges that he had to as a batter. He's overcome them. He's repeatedly proved his worth to his side, and he's also carved a niche for himself in international cricket. And who knows, he'll obviously somewhere down the line he will figure in the Hall of Fame as well. But now he needs something extra to keep himself motivated. He needs that oomph to go out there again, another 100, probably another 50, 60 games, and then give something there. And for that, he needs that extra oomph to wake up as enthusiastically as he did when he made his debut, or when he played his 10th Test match, or when he played his 20th Test match. So that extra zip is what looking for. And I personally feel that it will not harm anybody if Cricket Australia reconsiders its stance and says, yes, boss, we are okay with you becoming the captain of the side if the selectors deem fit. I think that should be left to the selectors, as the selectors' choice as to who they think will make the best captain for the side at a given point in time. That came a bit too late, I thought. Yes, it is perhaps something that captains sometimes do intuitively. They try and take decisions. There's also one declaration that our current coach made, which is being discussed even today. So, anyway, captains take some decisions, and it's only discussed based on the outcome. But otherwise, all the decisions that have been taken so far are really strange. By that I mean the kind of pitches that they've been playing Test cricket on, especially when they've had sides coming up long interval. One would have hoped that they would play on tracks that would provide good cricket. Yes, what is good cricket is once again relative. A lot of people would say that if a lot of runs are scored over a period of 5 days, that's good cricket, but that's definitely not what I would consider as good cricket. Yes, England forced the issue with a different approach altogether, and not every side is going to play the way England is played in the recent past. Pakistan is also capable of providing good green hued tops where the ball can really seam a lot, and they've got good fast bowlers as well. So I'm really surprised that they've resorted to kind of defensive tactics. The idea seems to be that they should not lose a test match, and then only they would have people coming to watch them. But if they were to play good cricket and even end up on the losing side, I'm sure the fans will come and watch their stars play, because they're getting to see them after a long time. And let's face it, they're coming to watch a different generation of cricketers, because Test cricket is happening in Pakistan after a long time. So that being the case, I think they should not have been really worried about the reaction or the response from the public if they were to lose Test cricket. I think they would have had people coming, and it would also facilitate quick progress as far as individual players are concerned. If they play tight Test matches and well-fought Test matches, but playing on the kind of tracks that they've been playing, I don't think it will really facilitate rapid player development as well. What has got to be answered by the selectors is that why is it that they felt these cricketers were good enough only now when they were good enough 3 years ago? These are not youngsters, they have not just started playing cricket. They've been in the scene long enough. In the case of Shikha Pandey, she's played for India for a long period of time, and she's had her days of glory for the Indian team as well. And she was gradually easing into the shoes of being the lead bowler as far as pace bowling is concerned. And that was the time she was dropped. And suddenly you ignore her for 2 years, and then you think, come World Cup, oh, she's good enough, she's got the experience. Now, this is something that needs to go away from the system, this back and forth. It's very critical that the selectors take their time and then make an assessment. You can't just talk about a cricketer today, eulogizing a cricketer and then criticizing the same cricketer 3 days later. This is where everybody should need to take a leaf out of Dhoni's book. He took his time. He took his time to assess a cricketer, and he would not mind waiting for a couple of years if he thought he was not really convinced until such time. He would wait even a couple of years before he brought a cricketer to the side. But once he was convinced that that player could tell you why he never dropped that cricketer. So I think that is how assessments have to be made. Take your time, wait, don't be in a hurry. But once you're convinced, don't let go of the cricketer. And that's when you get results as well. Yes, Jaydev Unadkat has been churning numbers uh, every season. Yes, I can understand as far as Jaydev Unadkat is concerned, because there are a lot of options that the selectors, the men's team have, especially when it came to the fast bowling department. Of late, there have been a lot of guys coming through the system who can be really quick and who are exciting to watch, who are young, and the thought of the youngsters staying longer and contributing a lot more over a longer period of time will always desist the selectors from picking somebody who's gone past the 30 mark. But there again, full marks to Jaydev Unadkat for being there and staying the course and just breaking the door down and barging into the Indian side. It is more a case of him, barging through the door than the selectors picking him with his performances over a period of 4 5 years. And if you're talking about the male selectors having this issue of having to decide amongst many options to bring back Jaydev Unadkat, and that's why it was delayed. I don't think the female selectors had that luxury, especially when it came to the fast bowling department in women's cricket. Yes, there were a lot of promising youngsters. They needed to be prepared. They needed to gain some experience. We saw that happen with Renka Thakur. She's come along nicely, but she worked hard in the preceding 2 to 3 years. And once she came in after getting prepared for the international level, she's really done well. So at the time that Shikha was dropped, I don't think it was a case of problem of plenty for the female selectors, but somehow the decision was made, and that decision was adhered to for a longer period than people would have expected them to adhere to. But at the end of it all, I'm glad that both of them have made a comeback, and obviously this will also result in others not losing their hearts or hopes. And they'll also fancy the chances of making a comeback as long as they persevere and churning out performances. So that's the only thing that's come out of this as far as I'm concerned. Yes, definitely a good side. I hope that Pooja Vasraka is certified fit, because she can make such a huge difference to the side because of her being a multi-dimensional cricketer. And the heartening fact is that in the last 1.5 years, she's done extraordinarily well with the ball as well. That is what was it. She is something like a Hardik Pandya. Hardik Pandya keeps bowling regularly, then you know what all he can do for the side. It is a similar case with Pooja Vastrakar as well. If at all she could bowl regularly and bowl real good overs for the side, then the Indian side looked different. And that's the reason I'm very, very hopeful that she's certified fit, because she not only provides flexibility, she also is one who can really tonk the ball a long way, and she can be a very useful finisher to the innings, because we've got enough firepower at the top, and it's at the bottom towards the end is where we are struggling a little bit, especially with Sneh Rana not being in the side, and Pooja Vasraka would provide that flourish towards the end.